The boy Dave Saxologist on Saxofriends. Thank you for hanging in there with me. I was on vacation for a minute in Mexico, but I'm back now, thank God. And today I have an international recording artist, producer extraordinaire, one of the baddest guitarists on the planet. He goes by the name of Adam Howley. Adam, how you doing, brother?
I'm excellent. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing even better now that I'm talking to the man with the Midas touch here, man.
Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. Appreciate it.
Hey, man, full transparency, is when I've been doing these interviews, I've talked to a lot of great artists, a lot of your peers, and your name keeps coming up. And I say, I know who Adam
Oh,
Howley is. I've been listening to him. I know his stuff, but people just kept Adam Howley. I was like,
hopefully they had something good to
yeah,
say.
that's what I'm saying, man. Everybody was saying it was like, I'm talking Marion Meadows, Marion, like Adam Howley. I'm like, okay, several people said Adam Howley. I need to see if I can get him on though. So that's what happened. I reached out to you and you were kind enough to do that. So thank you, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
A few years ago, I actually met you at Spagattini after one of the Nam jams. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a while ago.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I met you at one of those, man. So I saw what you've been doing. I've been following you ever since, man. So
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, what was that? Was that 2014 maybe?
probably somewhere around there. Yeah,
Yeah, 12 years ago. Wow,
yeah.
time flies.
I saw you over there, man. I know you've made several appearances there also as Spagattini, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, Spagattini's been very supportive. The last, I would say, 3 or 4 years, we've been appearing there twice a year. So we pretty much do a February show, which is usually my birthday bash. So we just did one of those. And then we'll often do a show in August, which I do. I have that scheduled as well, coming up August 30th. So yeah, it's a great spot. You know what I really dig about Spagattini is they really make an effort year over year to just find ways to improve. And it already was, ever since the first time I set foot in there in 2002, it was world class, the best artists, the best food. And they just every year they remodel or they tweak the stage or they bring in new lighting or new sound. So it's really cool to play somewhere where they take such good care of the venue. It's fantastic.
I agree, man. I've been going there since its inception. When they opened 30 some years ago, I was there then and been going ever since. And seeing great artists such as yourself there. So let's get into your journey, man. So where are you from and when did you get started playing music?
Yeah, I'm originally from Oregon, and everyone's always surprised at that because there's very few of us that get out. So I think a lot of people, it's such a beautiful place to live. So I think a lot of people stay in the Northwest or somewhere scenic. But for me, I just had from the as long as I can remember, I really wanted to get into the music industry and do something in a big way. And so I really had my eyes set on Los Angeles. Not that that's the only place that you can have a great career, but it made sense coming from the West Coast. It wasn't such a departure. It's a 2 hour flight, 16-hour drive. So it didn't seem so far away as going to the Midwest or the East Coast or the South or something else. So I started playing guitar at 8, or I'm sorry, a piano at 8, guitar at 9, and I started touring. I'd only been playing maybe 2 or 3 years, and a one of my teacher's students had a band, and it was an all kid band. So everyone was between the ages of 11 and 12. And the only thing they were missing was a guitar player, and they already had tour dates. So I jumped right in, auditioned, got the gig, and we were on tour. Like when I was either 11 or 12, somewhere in there. And so that was great. It was a bluegrass band. I had never played bluegrass. I definitely appreciate it, but I just wasn't familiar. But I took on the challenge. And even though that wasn't necessarily the genre I ultimately wanted to do, just the aspect of getting on the road and just learning how to deal with that, because really touring is really it's everything but the music. The music should be secondary in terms of like the difficulty. Hopefully you already know how to play, you already have a set list, hopefully you're selling tickets. It's really everything else. It's dealing with exhaustion, dealing with being tired, long, bus ride, long van ride. Your monitor mix isn't what you'd like it to be. It's everything else and knowing how to persevere through that and still put on a great show. So, so yeah, so I was touring very early. Then a few years later, when I was in high school, I started another band, and that was more blues rock oriented. Same thing, we toured all over Oregon and Washington. And then in 2002, I got into the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. So I moved to LA originally for college, but again, in my mind, I was going to probably stay. And so it was great because I was able to go to school and build my network at the same time. And so yeah, I ended up doing 3 degrees at USC, my bachelor's, master's, and doctorate, finished in 2010. And amongst that, I started working in town. And then really, I guess you could say my first big break is in April of 2008. I got the gig with the Manhattan Transfer,
Oh,
which, if anyone's not familiar, they're the most, I think pretty much everyone's familiar with Take Six, and this is the generation before Take Six. And Take Six is amazing, so it's not a
right, right,
comparison.
right.
But Manhattan Transfer is actually more decorated. They have 12 Grammys and sold millions of records and whatnot. And then Take Six was like the next generation of that. And so, anyways, it was a vocal jazz group, and so yeah, so toured with him for 4 years, then did Natalie Cole, then did Jennifer Lopez, and then in 2013 I started working with more jazz artists. So I started working with Brian Culbertson, Dave Koz, Gerald Albright, Huge Groove, Richard Elliott. And the reason why you're stuck with me today on this interview is I started thinking about making my first record, and I have to credit my good friend Greg Manning. We had a show together, great keyboardist in Las Vegas, and we were carpooling. And he had had some success at radio already. He had put out a few singles, and so I was just picking his brain, not so much trying to get anything out of him other than just information. Just, hey, how did you make your record? Who did you use for radio promotion? Blah blah blah. What was your rollout strategy? Because I already had an idea of what I wanted to do musically, so it was more of the nuts and bolts of being an artist. And he said, "Man, I just signed with Kalimba Music, which is Maurice White's record label, and I think they'd be interested in you when you finish your record. Give it to me, and I'll make sure they hear it." And at the same time, Huge Groove sent my record around to Shawnee and to Trippin, and I got in touch. So I ended up getting in touch with most of the labels that were prevalent at the time, and all those labels still are, except for Kalimba. And so I ended up signing with Kalimba. So that was pretty cool because um, being signed to Maurice's label, obviously goes without saying, was a huge honor. And then unfortunately, he passed away right after I signed. So I didn't get to work with him directly, but I worked with his team, which was Ted Joseph, was A&R. He was with Warner Brothers for 30 years. Richie Salvato, who was the vice president of the label and had been with Maurice for 30 years also. So working with those two gentlemen was really great. Just the knowledge and just they'd been around, they'd seen it all. And so yeah, so my first two albums came out on that label. My very first single was #1 on Billboard for 5 weeks, and it's just been an unbelievable, blessed journey from then. I mean, now up to 19 #1s and 50 top 30s as a producer. And in 2019, the label shut down, and so I started my own label, and that's been an amazing journey. So I reissued my first two albums. I've now released 5 albums of my own, and have 8 artists in total on the label as well, that I'm also the producer for. So it's a lot of fun because I work on the um, the musical side of the records in terms of writing with the artist, producing, mixing, but then I also work on the back end, which is the promotion and the working on the artwork and working on, what does our calendar look like in terms of rollout. And I also have to give a big shout out to my radio promoter, Jason Goroff. I've been with him since the beginning, and he's done an amazing job and been a big part of a lot of those radio hits. So I feel really, I mean, in summary, I know I just gave you like 10 minutes straight, but I just feel really blessed. It's been an amazing journey, and yeah, not bad for coming from Oregon, from a town of 500 people,
Wow.
believe it or not. Yes.
Man, and as you were talking about those things, I do my research on 2024 Media Based Artist of the Year, 2025 Billboard Artist of the Year. Brother, those are some heavy accolades, man.
Well, and what's really cool about those, and of any of the honors I've received has been, incredible, and I feel fortunate. What's really cool about Media Base and Billboard Artist of the Year is it's directly tied to the amount of spins that you get. So in 2024, I had the most spins for any artist in the genre on Media Base, and then in 2025, the most spins on the Billboard charts for any artist in jazz. So it's a literal um, award in terms of how much airplay did you get. So I was just really fortunate and really blessed to have the most airplay in the genre for 2025. So yeah, it's amazing. I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't something I was tracking. I just all of a sudden got a call from Jason Goroff. He said, "Hey, you're number one for the year." It's like, and I had a few near misses. I was number three a few years ago. I was number seven in my second year as an artist. And but yeah, 2025, I think I had six songs out, and so I did a duet with Dave Koz that I produced called Automatic, and that was fortunate to go number one. I did another song off my sixth album, Absolute Love, that ended up being a number one. Um, what else did it come out in 2025? Oh, I produced a song for Jeff Ryan that I was featured on, so that counted as spins because I was a featured artist on that. And I put out another song, kind of a Latin tune that was top 10 called Flyby. And I think I'm missing. Oh, and then I had a song called Roller Skate, which also was fortunate to go number one. So yeah, I believe there were five songs floating around in 2025 getting spins, and that's what led to being number one. So I feel very fortunate. Big shout out to all the radio stations that have been spinning me for sure.
That's awesome, man. What is it about the guitar? You say you started at piano, so what drew you to the guitar? Talk to me about that.
Well, I always wanted to play the guitar, and that was a very singular focus. Really was not interested in anything else. And it was actually my mother that she was, even though she's not a musician, I guess had heard or was aware that piano was a really great foundational instrument. So that was her kind of deal with me. If you stick with piano for a year, then you can add guitar. And so after a year of doing piano, then I was still interested and kept going with that. And then my guitar teacher was the one that really forced me into playing bass. I wasn't interested in that. He's like, it'd be a good skill, even if you don't become a professional bass player. So thank goodness for that. He was instrumental in that. And then I personally developed an interest for the drums. So I was able to get my parents to get me a drum kit. So, and then trumpet. In school, they just had a concert band, so you had to play. Guitar was not something that you could play in concert band. So I ended up picking up the trumpet. That was the one that I had the least ability in. I didn't last long on the trumpet, but yeah, and then drums too. Drums, I didn't really progress that far. But having a knowledge of the drum kit has been crucial in terms of like when I'm interacting with a drummer, either in a live show or when I'm recording, knowing what to ask for, just having a feel for the instrument and how it works. But a guitar, keyboards, and bass I use all the time when I'm writing and in production and whatnot. So, but yeah, but guitar is that's just I found my parents' record collection. They didn't have it wasn't like a collector's, collection or anything. They just had a handful of records. But yeah, somewhere in there, I heard the guitar and just always wanted to do it. There were no guitar players around me. No one in my family played. The only thing I can think of is just finding they had some vinyl and they had some cassettes. And somewhere in there, I just picked out the guitar and just wanted to play it.
Did you find some Wes Montgomery in there and some Joe Pass and Benson and all that in there too?
Of course. So I have to cite my guitar teacher, Greg Stipkala. I started studying with him at 9 and studied with him all the way until 17, till I went to college. And yeah, he was really great about hipping me to so many guitar players that I never would have come across probably otherwise. So yeah, he got me into Wes Montgomery, Grant Green, George Benson. He also got me into a lot of, he actually started me with the blues first. So he started me with B.B. King, Freddie King, Albert King,
Yeah.
Hendrix, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and then I got into like Santana, some of the classic rock, Allman Brothers, etc. And then when I was about maybe 12 is when he started getting me into more of the jazz guitarists. And and so yeah, so I mean that was huge, getting into them. And I remember the first time I ever heard Benson, actually, I take that back. The drummer in my high school band, that's what's so wild about how, things can just kind of meander. I was in a band playing blues and rock, but the drummer made me a mixtape, and on the mixtape was Breezin' by George Benson. So it's kind of wild. The way that I, was introduced to Benson was being in this blues rock band. But once I heard Breezin', it was all over.
Yeah.
I was stuck on that. And you got to remember too, we're talking about, this is 99 or 2000. So, you had to drive to the store and hope the record was in the store. By then it was CDs, but still,
Right.
it wasn't like, oh, I'll go on Spotify or YouTube and just find the song, so I had to
Yeah.
find the record or order them. I think you could order CDs off of Amazon. So, yeah, you had to be real intentional about, and you had to know, what am I looking for, and then order it, wait for it,
Right.
or go to a store and find it. So it was, it's interesting how much has changed. Now you can find any song ever in a matter of seconds.
Right.
And so I appreciated it because you would really live with a record, I'd save up my little bit of money I had and buy an album, and then you would live with it for months, because you spent money to buy that, right, $20, $25, whatever it was. And then I didn't have a whole bunch of records, so you would just listen to it over and over and over. In fact, I wore out some cassettes. Cassettes will break if you play them enough times. So
They will.
I actually wore out. A CD will last forever if you don't scratch it, but a cassette you can actually wear out. So I wore out several cassettes, believe it or not, just listening to
Okay.
things over and over.
So how did you get into the producing, especially all these number ones and working with OGs in the game, been in there a long time, man? How do you write for people like Dave Koz?
Yeah, so it's interesting because that was one of my goals when I moved to LA, was to be involved as a producer. And it's funny, I used to, if someone was working on a record, I say, hey, let me send you a track, or I would just, do a cold call, just hit somebody, hey, I got tracks available, if you're interested, and zero interest whatsoever. And so what changed was that my record in 2016, my very first single went number one. My second single peaked at number two. My third single peaked at number one. Then the first two singles off my second album went number one. So four of my first five went number one, and the one that didn't was number two. So long story short, it's not so much to brag as just to point out that because of that, people started hitting me up, and they had no idea that I was making the records. So they were calling me to find out who made them so they could go hire that person.
Right.
And so I would say, well, I did it, and really, and so that's when the buzz started, and it was very organic. I've never like taken out ads or anything. I would occasionally post on social media if I was working on a track and put up a little clip of me in the studio, but yeah, that's where it started, was just word of mouth, and just me having an impact on my own personal records at radio. And so, my first single came out in 2016, and by 2017 people were calling, hiring me. And it's been an amazing ride. I mean, so you mentioned Dave. The reason why that song happened was he had booked me to be one of the artists on his Christmas tour. So he's been doing his Christmas tour for decades, over
Right.
20 years.
Yeah.
And every year, almost every year he has Jonathan Butler, and then the other three artists rotate between all sorts of legends: Rick Braun, Richard Elliott, Mindy Abair, David
Yes.
Benoit, Keiko Matsui,
Right.
Bill Medley, you name it. I mean, he's had the who's who in his Christmas tour. And so in 2024, or actually in December of 23, he called me and said, "Hey, would you like to be one of the artists on the Christmas tour in 2024?" And as of course I would. So that was a really fun tour. Ended up being Dave, Jonathan Butler, Vincent Ingala, Rebecca Jade, and myself. And we had so much fun. And then about 6 months before the tour, he called me up. He's like, "Hey, I think it would be cool to put out a tune to kind of get some buzz for the tour. Would you be interested in producing that song?" And I said, "Yeah. So, what Christmas song do you want to do?" That's where my first thought process went to. He said, "No, no, I don't want to do a Christmas song." And I was like, "Why not? We're doing a Christmas tour." He said, "No, I think it would be really cool to put out a new original contemporary jazz song, and it will provide some buzz leading up to the tour, and we will also play it in the show, and it will be essentially kind of a break from the Christmas music in the show, because these Christmas tours, even though they're 70, 80% Christmas, still you'll do at least one of your hits of your regular material." And I thought, man, what a cool idea. Except, Dave, almost everything he releases does really well. And so it's almost like a thankless job. It's like it needs to go number one. And if it
Yeah.
doesn't, then you failed, basically. So I work exceptionally hard on every track, but that one in addition had the pressure of delivering, and I was really proud of it. And it was really fun to curate a song with him, because basically he identified about five tracks I had that he liked, and he started kind of noodling with them. And then he would send me voice memos, and so he ended up sending me a melody I really liked, but he was hearing that melody on a different track. And I just told him, I said, "You've written a great melody, but it needs to be on this track." And so after a little convincing, he agreed. So we had to change keys. And that's how that song was born. So he had the hook, but it was a hook he had written to another one of my tracks. So we took that, put it on the track that I suggested, um, and then wrote from there. Finished up the verse and the bridge and whatnot. And yeah, fortunately, it went number one. And it's been a great tune, because what's really cool too is not only did we do it on the tour, but we've also done it a few times on the cruise as well too. So it's great because now we have a song that was a very successful song. People know it, but then we can pull it out at any time. So in fact, this Dave Koz cruise coming up in a few weeks, we're going to perform it. And last year he had me on the Dave Koz cruise, and same thing. We ended up doing it within my show, which was cool because then he could come out and instead of like him learning just something random, it's like, no, we have a song that we have together that's a successful song. Let's do it in the show. It's a no-brainer. So that ended up being really cool cherry on top of. Initially I thought, oh, I'm just gonna be a part of this Christmas tour, and ended up also leading into doing this song as well.
Have you ever written a song and you got it to another artist and you thought about it? You're like, man, I probably should have held on to that one myself. You ever done that?
Yeah, but I've never, like, once they have it, I don't ever take it back. But yeah, of course, there's been quite a few, because I don't put any tracks together I don't believe in.
Right.
But so yeah, there's been a few. I was like, oh man, you got one of my good ones, but it's all right.
Yeah.
There's always another track to write, and so I honestly get a little bit more enjoyment and satisfaction out of helping other artists succeed, get on the radio, chart, etc. Not to say I don't appreciate it for myself too, but it's a fun challenge because I have to dive into, I have to use the skills that I had originally developed for myself, but then point them outwards and make sure to retain that artist's personality and to support them as best that we can. So it's a different task. It's similar, but it's different than doing it for myself. I've keyed in on, what is my, sound, what is an Adam song kind of at this point, and what makes sense in terms of what works for me. Whereas some of those things will translate, but then I also will go back and listen to, okay, what did this artist do before? But then if it's the first time I'm working with them, you don't want to think about that too much because they've come to me probably looking for something different because it's our first time working together and they've worked with other people. So yeah, you're just walking all of these lines. I really look at it as it's an honor and it's a responsibility to make sure I'm adding to their discography. They've had years of putting out records, and especially somebody that's been very successful. You don't want it when they get to the track I did for them. It's like, oh, that was a strange time, and then they had, it's like, no, you want it to be this continual, if anything, hopefully an improvement. So yeah, it's a fun challenge. I really embrace it and have so much fun doing it.
Well, I'll tell you what, Adam, you know what? I know you're pressed for time, but before you go, I'd like to ask you, there's another artist in your household, man. Talk to me about the other artists in your household, man.
Yeah, so my lovely wife, Kat Holly, we have so much fun touring the world together, and that really came together very organically. We met in 2005, and shortly after that, started performing together at church. So we've been making music now for 21 years, believe it or not. But yeah, we put out her debut album a couple summers ago, and she tours with me, and so we always do one of her tunes in my show. And she has a new single. This is great timing. It's coming out Friday, March 6th, and it's going to radio on March 9th, and it's entitled They Say, and I'm very proud of it. It's a really cool, it's contemporary, but it's got a little bit of Latin jazz flair to it. Um, and it's a completely original song that the two of us sat down and just wrote from scratch. We put together a ton of ideas for her next single, and this will be a part of her second album, but it's the very first song released that will be on her next record. And so we put together so many ideas. I think we put together 8 different song ideas, and this was the one that overwhelmingly won out. And so we're very excited about it. So she's got new music out, and you can catch her on the road with me. And she's also doing her own show on the cruise, which is just around the corner. So if you're on the Dave Koz cruise, look out for her show. We'll be doing the new song in addition to favorites from her first record. And so yeah, so it's a lot of fun, And in terms of my live show, she adds so much, People obviously are coming expecting guitar since I'm a guitar player,
Right.
but having that vocal element in the show just takes the performance to another level and adds another dimension. And it's really fun because basically we've gotten into a routine. She usually comes out on the fourth or fifth song. So right when the audience is kind of settling in and kind of like, okay, I see what's happening here. It's a 5-piece band led by guitar. Then vocal, she comes out and
Yeah.
and knocks them dead and just takes them in another direction. And then same thing, she'll do 3, 4 tunes. She'll leave. I'll go back to some more of my instrumental stuff, and then she'll come back to close out the set. And she's on stage the last like 30, 35 minutes, depending on the length of the show. And so we have so much fun because we get to travel the world together making music, and we get to like I said, perform her songs in the show. And she moves a lot of merch. I'm like,
Yeah.
dang, but it's great. It's great. So yeah, we have a lot of fun with it.
All right, Adam, before you go, can you let everybody know where to find you, contact information, and your wife's information as well?
Yeah, we make it real easy. The best place for both of us is our websites because through the website, it's really a portal where you can get to our social media. You can get to my online store, purchase my merchandise, which includes vinyl, includes CDs, flash drives, and t-shirts. You can get to our tour schedule, et cetera, et cetera. So mine is adamhawley.com, ADAMHAWLEY.com, and hers is catholly.com. So we make it real easy. And yeah, if you go there, you can get anywhere else that you're looking to do. You can get on the email list, you can get to our Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc. And definitely jump on the email list. And a pop-up, if you go to the website, a pop-up will show up after a few seconds. And that's really the best way to keep in touch. And I promise I don't abuse the email list. I only email people about once a month. But I can let people know about tour dates coming up and new releases and whatnot. And yeah, look out for my new record too. My wife has a single dropping in a few days, but my new album comes out in April, and you can already order it off of my website, and I'll send you a autographed copy of it personally. So check that out, adamhawley.com.
All right, Adam. Hey, man, this has been a pleasure. I know you're stressed for time, but we may have to do a part two, brother, because you got a real interesting story, man. If you don't mind.
Oh, it would be my pleasure. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for having me on. This was a
Hey, man,
blast.
and I appreciate you, brother, and keep doing your thing, man, because all I'm hearing is great things about you, man. So you
Oh,
keep up the good work, man.
you're too kind. You're too kind. Will do. Thank
Thank you so
you.
much. I'll be in touch, and this will be on Facebook and YouTube on Saturday morning. Okay.
Awesome. Looking forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, brother. We'll stay in touch, and we'll do this again. Okay.
Okay, sounds
Hey,
good.
take care. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the great Adam Howley. Check him out. Him and his wife have new music coming out, so be on the lookout. And if you're on the Dave Cobb's tour, take a look at Adam as well. He'll be on there as well on Dave Cobb's cruise. You guys, this has been Dave Saxologist for Saxofriends. Have a great day.